Well, good morning, gardeners. I hope everybody's doing well. Today is the day we are going to flip our last bed to plant for summer, and I'm going to harvest my carrots no matter what. I don't even care how big they are, and there's a reason why. All right, so this is the last bed in the wild garden that needs to be flipped, and I'm fitting to pull these carrots up. I know that they are probably not big enough, but remember in the fall, I said that I was planting these carrots for one reason only, and that was to kind of work the soil because it was compacted. So I've already got my potatoes going, my tomatoes and peppers over here. I just planted my corn the other day, or yesterday actually, so it's not coming up yet, but I need to get this done, and we're just gonna pull this up and see what happens. Obviously, the best case scenario would be we would just get like huge carrots, which we are not getting. These are supposed to be smaller carrots anyways, but the idea, like I said, was just keep the soil working. So we'll get a couple out. This is about what we're looking for. Maybe a little bit longer would be good, but these are the scarlet nannies. Now back here are the longer ones, the Danvers, and we'll see how those come up. Now there ain't a whole lot to write home about. There's a couple good ones in there, but again, it just kind of worked that top soil. So these were the scarlet nannies. Now let's see what this small patch of Danvers carrots will give us. So I like to refer to these as like the Bugs Bunny type carrots. And then it's about the same. These were actually planted like a month later though. All right, so the carrots were in this area, and you know, it's not terrible. This is where they were really planted, so you can see that with lighter pressure I can go deeper. So the compaction has definitely helped where the carrots grew. Like there were no real carrots here, so you can see like, so we need to do some work on this. This is going to be a long process over years to come, but what we're going to do is I'm going to come through and I'm going to lightly till. I'm going to show you all this, but I'm going to lightly till this so all of this mulch here will get chopped up and worked back into the soil and help to break down and then continue to loosen the soil with the organic matter. Now I may not have a lot of carrots in this basket, but I got a lot of greens, and the greens are good because you can give them to the chickens, you can put them in the compost and all that stuff. But even though still, I want to save what I can, and my son actually loves these smaller carrots, believe it or not. So I'm gonna go through the painstaking process after we get this garden worked up and wash everything on this new wash station. So let's just take a look and see briefly what we got. So I mean, you know, we got some decent ones, but a lot of them were small, and I mean, I could have gave it another month or so and let them grow out to get a little bit bigger, but I mean, what's it worth? You know, I have this few amount of carrots here, and then if I come over here, I have all of these carrots, and all these carrots were actually sowed to be harvested probably around May or June. So what's the point in doing that and sacrificing a whole 8x4 foot bed for that? I mean, it just seems kind of crazy, right? So we're just going to take advantage of what we've done. And honestly, this has been a big stressor for me because the sun's getting closer and closer to the highest point, and I want to maximize all the sun I can get in this bed before the summer solstice. So we want to go ahead and put our peppers and stuff in this bed too, because it's going to be a mixture of hot peppers, sweet peppers, and watermelons all in this bed. And then we just want to take advantage of that and get these lines buried in the ground so that they can do their job more efficiently.
Let's not waste time or take this slow. We've got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be better than two.
All right, so that wasn't a bad tilling. That was just a light tilling, a couple inches down. This little Ryobi thing right here does not go very deep, and I wasn't trying to put a lot of pressure on it. So we have it just very light and just chop up the surface a little bit. And so when we rake it all over, it'll be nice and fluffy up top. And then all that mulch that was on there, you can see, is going to start breaking down. and then it'll just add to the organic matter inside of the garden and just let it break down, fluff the soil up, and work on that compaction. Now time for the old faithful Warren hoe. This thing, I'm going to say it every time I use it, has been a lifesaver. So I've smoothed out the garden bed, and now I need to build trenches for the drip line. So that's exactly what this is for, because it'll make that nice furrow right there, that trench. Now, part of the problem, I'm sure, with the carrots and other stuff in my garden for the spring and winter season was the fact that I put in this drip line while there was still stuff planted. So it didn't allow for, you know, the water to really spread evenly. And we could tell that when I was pulling up the carrots, there were definitely sections of the ground that were nowhere near, especially around the carrots and stuff like that, didn't have the moisture that I desired. And I specifically waited until today because it watered this early this morning. So I knew the soil would be damp or wet like it should be. And it also gives me a chance to really look and see how the watering system is actually, how much water it's actually laying down. So I'm going to bury this line fairly deep here. I'm going to show you how deep this is going to go. And this is going to make all the difference because I'm going to plant right on top of all of this drip line. So you can see surfaces here. 1, 2, about 3 inches deep, I think is going to be pretty good. And usually I'll try and get a little bit deeper, or that's what I've been doing. So we're going to just go ahead and finish the rest of these and make these trenches. All right. Trenches are dug. Everything is inflated and watering. I actually did have to replace this line right here. I had nicked it a couple weeks ago and it was just kind of shooting out. So I did a quick replace. So now it's time to plant. Now I can't stress this enough. If you're going to plant, pre-planting fertilizer is a must. It just really gets the plants up and going and just ready to grow right away. And then you can add as needed. But this pre-planting fertilizer makes all the difference in the world. And pre-planting fertilizer is nothing crazy. It just means fertilizer you put down before you plant. So I'm going to use this biotone and this blood meal. And I do this for just about every thing that I plant. The difference is depending on the crop, I may add more at a later date and more of one thing or the other. So for instance, this bed is peppers and watermelons and some herbs. So I'll put all that down, but I won't come back and put blood meal down after that, probably until about halfway through the season. I don't want to continuously keep pumping nitrogen to it because it needs something more than that to continue to grow. And it's just a sprinkle in the hole. That's it. Just enough to get her going, give it time to break down, and start feeding everything. All right, well, I don't know if I started off with this, but it's like the middle of April. It's like April 18th or something, and it's 85 degrees, so my camera started overheating, but that didn't stop the progress. So we got this bed planted. I'm gonna show you what I put in here, and then kind of explain to you why I didn't go exactly by the goal that I had set for myself this year. So if you remember, my goal was to do just rows of stuff and keep it quite simple and straightforward. But, you know, in the back row here, like we don't grow a lot of eggplants. So I put 2 eggplants here, and then I didn't want to waste the row. So I just came out and put a little bit more okra in and, you know, whatever, kind of fill the gaps a little bit. But this middle or second row here is all jalapenos, Craig's Grande jalapenos up to here. And then we have 1, 2, 3 red cherry peppers. I saved seeds last year and didn't get very far. And actually I see that I left some flower buds on, so I'm gonna pick those off. because that'll help the plant actually focus on growing roots instead of peppers right now, which is what we want. So yeah, we'll do that for a couple days as we see them come up and stuff like that, just to keep things going in the right direction. And then the rest here are all of the lipstick peppers. I really enjoy those. They're super sweet and they are more productive than bell peppers. So we'll do that. And then here we put 2 cantaloupes. So 1, 2, and then the rest is watermelon, crimson watermelon. And then we just put a couple of basil plants at the end. And the great thing about it is right now as we speak, it's getting watered, completely watered, and we can do whatever. So it's a hot day. So we're gonna keep the water going to them. Same with the corn that's in the back garden there behind it. We're just gonna keep the water going to it today. And we'll probably do a little bit of overhead water and just put the watering can just to kind of ensure that they're wet so we can get some good germination. But, you know, my plan was to do a whole hedge of basil. And then as I thought about like an 8-foot run, I was like, man, I don't need that much basil. I was like, dude, I grow 2 plants every year and I get plenty of basil. So yeah, we didn't do it. Okra, now I know we put a fair amount of okra in the greenhouse, but you know, I'm not totally sold this year that it's gonna grow well in there. I do have a feeling it's gonna get too hot. So we're just to hedge our bets and make sure that we have a continuous harvest of okra. We'll have that growing out there. Now, I do want to wash these carrots up for you on my new washing station and see exactly what's going on with those. I'm going to turn the water on and then we'll see how much we got and kind of see what we're going to do with it. It's not very impressive though. First and foremost, let's take advantage of this situation and get some water. And yes, I drink out of the water hose. I don't care about cancer claims. I don't care about any of that. It's delicious, it tastes good, and it reminds me of my childhood. So there's that. Now, we go through our carrots. Let me get you a little closer. I don't know how big I want to save them for, but you know, my son likes the smaller ones. They're easier to fit in his lunch. And we don't have to cut them, so you know, these kinds of things, whatever. Now I will say one thing. I know you saw me wearing my hat today. I hate that hat, but I'm wearing it because my neighbor, he's an older guy, last year he had 80 skin cancers cut off the top of his head. Never laid out in the sun, just day-to-day walking around. And then he had a crazy chemical peel on his face to get it all off. So I told myself last year when I saw that I got to take more precautions. And as a bald man, I hate wearing hats more than anything, but it kind of is what it is. So the idea wasn't to use that crop as an eater crop. That was more like a cultivation crop. And so I just really want to take advantage of that. And moving forward, continue to do things like that, you know, in those compacted beds. I think this fall, what I'm going to do, because I am continuously planting them and using them, I think I'm going to put daikon radishes in them and just really till the ground up with those. And I may just end up doing like a full bed of daikon radishes. First of all, I like to eat them, but second of all, they'll till very deep. So I think that's going to help too, but we'll see what happens with that. And then as far as like the planting goes, like at this point for April, we are just about done planting. Tonight, we're gonna put our cucumbers in because the water is scheduled to come on in this side of the garden tonight, tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and put those in this evening so we don't have to hand water them or anything. Maybe just give them a light sprinkle, but they'll be able to be watered. And then that'll wrap up for our April planting. I'll be doing a May planting video soon. I'll hope to get it out in the first week of May. And I really got to sit back and look at what I'm going to be planting. But like I said in the April one, like April is the biggest planting month of the year. So everything else is just going to be filling gaps and stuff like that. But filling gaps, believe it or not, can be the most important part of getting a garden going, and that's where you can get the most of your food. Instead of leaving stuff empty, we can fill gaps and get a lot more.